Ready, set, go. I see the gun in the sky. I'm ready. Ready, set, go. This moment is do or die. I'm ready. Ready, set, go. I'm in the fight of my life. I'm ready. Ready, set, go. We were made for this moment and we ain't got time to blow. Don't blow it. Ready, set, go.
Thursday is here, and it is 5:30, which means it is time for Mean Green Scream. Welcome into the show. I am your host, Shaji Adam, and I am joined by Alec Rapp and AJ Tellers. How are you guys?
Good.
Y'all missed me. I wasn't here last week, unfortunately. I don't see enough happiness, so hopefully the enthusiasm gets a little better.
Good to have you back.
There we go. All right, so let's get started. It has been 12 long years, but UNT men's basketball are going dancing. It all came down to UNT versus Western Kentucky, and the game ended up going to overtime. Javion Hamlet's floater sealed their destiny, and now they head to March Madness. Alec, I'm going to start with you. We talked about how UNT's momentum wasn't really the best going into the tournament, but man, they sure turned it around. What's your reaction to this win?
Well, I mean, this was a huge win because every single person that you would talk to, they had Western Kentucky favored. And one thing that was really big about this win is the fact that they went up 17-0 right away and took the life out of Western Kentucky. Now, they kind of fell apart in the second half. They will not be able to do that against Purdue. That's just something they can't afford to do. But this was just a great pick-me-up for the Mean Green.
And AJ, what about you?
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, just the emotion of going up 17-0 and start that run out of the gate, and then you have a Western Kentucky team that comes back and on a 19-2 run. Just the emotions of that up and down game are really a testament to the mental toughness under Coach McCaslin, and you're peaking at the right moment, and that was such a great team win for them to have to go through the run early, fall behind, look up at the clock and say, hey, we're down with 3 minutes to go, down 7-0, and go on that run to force overtime. It's just a testament to the mental toughness under McCaslin's group.
Yeah, and I kind of want to piggyback off that. Let's talk about Grant McCaslin. When he took over this program, it was one of the worst programs ever in college basketball, especially for UNT. They won just 2 conference games, and they had no wins against teams inside the top 200. And they had 5 straight years of losing conference records and only 1 conference tournament game win in that span. Not a great start for UNT, but once McCaslin took over, it was just a complete attitude change for North Texas. What about you, AJ? What do you think about Grant McCaslin's run so far with UNT?
Look, he built a culture here, and it was a program that didn't previously have one. And like you said, a program that only had 2 conference wins the season prior. Look, the beautiful thing about programs like North Texas is you have to go in to you have to recruit in the JUCO level. You have to get the Javion Hamlets. You have to get the overlooked Zachary Simmons. And a tournament berth and a win like they had against Western Kentucky is so important because it establishes a reputation going forward that's attractive to those players that have gone through adversity, like a Hamlet, like a Zachary Simmons. And when you create a culture from the ground up, it's something that can last year in and year out and really give your program a chance to stay competitive year on and year out in such a conference like the Conference USA, and it's all thanks to Coach McCaslin.
Well, I think you said it perfectly. You know, he built a culture, and that's something that's so important to do, especially with a small school like UNT. And you said, you know, recruiting in JUCO. You have Javion Hamlet, you have Mardrez McBride. Those are 2 JUCO stars that we have that, you know, they were given a shot on the D1 level. And, you know, Coach McCaslin has done that pretty much his entire time he's been coaching. And, you know, if we look at his record here, he was hired in 2017. They go 20-18 his first year, win the CBI. Second year, they go 21-12. They go to the quarterfinals, lose there. Third year, 20-11, regular season champions. Obviously, we know COVID hit, and you know that kind of just ruined everything. Probably going to the dance last year without COVID. And then, of course, this year we go 17-9, and we get that dance. And I mean, Grant McCaslin has done more for this school, I think, than any other coach has in the past 20, 30 years.
Yeah, and you know, I remember when I first saw Grant McCaslin, I remember he was outside the Union and he was holding like a little basketball goal, and he was like, "Hey, if you shoot this, you get a free T-shirt." And he was out there, and he was super excited. You can tell when a coach is like that with the regular students. I can't imagine how enthusiastic he is around his players. I remember he kept on the sidelines. You could see him just always with so much emotion, motivating his players, because that's just the type of coach he is. Now let's talk about specifically a player. Javion Hamlet has completely taken over for UNT itself. In the tournament, he averaged 18.5 points, 6.5 rebounds, and 7 assists. He clearly was the MVP. Unbelievable. AJ, quickly, what has been Javion's impact on this team?
So when you get to tournament time, you need your best players to take charge, and he's responded in a big way. Just more than so, just the stats, but the fact that you look at this 4-game run for North Texas in the Conference USA tournament, he only missed 5 minutes. And when you have a guy as valuable as Hamlet is, that doesn't come off the court, he makes everybody better around him. He puts a lot of stress on the defenses when he's on the court. And North Texas, one of their issues going into the tournament was that short bench. And when you have a guy as reliable and valuable as Hamlet that doesn't come off the court, it just adds another level to what he means to this Mean Green team.
All right, Alec, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Hamlet has been great. You know, I alluded to this last week. What we saw in Middle Tennessee, and we kept seeing, you know, against Old Dominion, La Tech, and Western Kentucky, is what I call vintage Javion. That was that 2019-2020 Javion that we saw that just took the conference by storm. But there's one guy I want to focus on, and that's Mardrez McBride, or as I like to call him, Marchdrez McBride, because he has come alive during that tournament. He had a bad game against Middle Tennessee, and he came alive. He had a clutch 3 to tie that game against Western Kentucky. This is a guy that we're going to need to rely on against Purdue because we got to hit every single shot.
Glad you said that, and man, I'm just happy that we're going dancing and we can all be a part of it. Thank you, guys. So like I said earlier, it has been 12 years, but the Mean Green are going dancing. Now we dive into March Madness itself and give our predictions. Be sure to stick around.
High five. All right.
When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all
The Conference USA tournament is sadly over, but we still have plenty of basketball left here at UNT. Here to discuss March Madness is Rachel Sanders and Jose Moreno. How are you guys?
Doing good today.
Great.
Are y'all excited for March Madness?
Yes.
I can't believe it's here, but let's talk about it. So, we saw the bracket. All the matchups are set in the first round. What matchups specifically are y'all looking forward to? Jose, I'm going to start with you.
Let's be simple here. We're all looking forward for UNT against Purdue. I know the last time I was on here it makes it look like I hate UNT, but I don't. I just have high expectations for this team. I'm glad we made it in. I cried when we made it in. I was like, oh my God, finally. It's been like 11 years. Especially since last year we got robbed because of coronavirus. But we're back, and that's good. That's great.
All right, Rachel, what about you? What matchups are you most looking forward to?
I mean, I'm looking forward to all of the matchups, but I'm specifically looking forward to the ones I really think could be possible upsets. I really think a possible upset could be Colorado versus Georgetown. Georgetown is known for being a basketball school, and I'm really excited for that. Being an OU fan as well, I have to say I'm a fan and ready for the Oklahoma-Missouri game, which is because they're in the same conference for over 93 years, and I'm just excited to see that history happen.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely am. Everybody's excited for March Madness upsets. That's like one of the best parts of the tournament. But one thing I want to, highlight is any matchup that is the 4th seed versus the 13th seed. I remember I was talking to Hank Dickinson, who commentates for UNT basketball, and we were discussing about upsets that could happen. And really, the 4th seed versus the 13th seed have really become that upset highlight where people most likely where upsets could happen. And right now those games are UNT versus Purdue. Purdue is the 4th seed. Then you have Virginia versus Ohio. Then you have Oklahoma State versus Liberty. All those games could go any other way, so I'm definitely looking forward to those type of matchup. But let's talk about the matchup that Jose is looking most forward to, as am I. UNT versus Purdue. Jose, I'm gonna start with you. Can UNT beat Purdue?
I think, yeah. I think right now this team, I don't really watch a lot of college sports. I never get really the time to, but college basketball is something I've always tried to start to watch, and UNT has been white hot flame right now. It has been incredible what they've been doing, and they beat Western Kentucky, and no one realizes that Western Kentucky also beat Bama. They were at one point supposed to be an 8th seed, but after this loss, they lost their bid, and they just never went anywhere. UNT has been on a pretty good winning streak. They lost against UAB. That was their last losses. But that was also a really good team in the conference. But I think Purdue, I honestly don't really see much in this Purdue team, not much potential. I just think that UNT could really be the Cinderella team. They've been since even last year, they were destined to be the Cinderella team for that tournament. I think they still have that idea. I have them going to Sweet 16. I got them beating Villanova in the next round and going against Baylor. I have high hopes for this team.
I do agree that UNT could make it to the Sweet 16, but I do disagree with you in the fact that this Purdue team doesn't have a lot of potential because, look, they're scoring 71 points a game, and they're shooting 34% from the three-point range. They finished 4th in the Big Ten. Yes, they lost in overtime to Ohio State, but they do have probably the best freshman class. They are, I believe, the 3rd or 4th youngest team in this tournament, but they are just loaded with amazing guards, and they also have a great big man. I just think they really have a lot of potential, especially in this freshman class. Rachel, what about you? Do you think UNT could beat Purdue?
I think UNT could beat Purdue, but the real statement is, are we going to see the team that UNT was in the first half of the conference tournament and in the championship, or are we going to see that second half team where they really weren't able to get the shots that we needed to get and weren't really able there? The question is, can we also keep Travion Williams down when his points per game this year is 15, and I really think if we can keep him down to less than 10, that's great, and I really think we could potentially make the round of 32, but I don't think we can make the Sweet 16.
Okay, and just comparing both teams like I did a little earlier, Purdue scores 71 points a game, and then UNT scores 70. But one thing that I do like is that UNT has been really known for their defense. They've only allowed 61 points a game, but every team they faced in the Conference USA tournament did not score over 60. So I think that's very important, especially for this Purdue team. And you were talking about it, Rachel. Travion Williams is really good. 16 points a game with 9 rebounds. That's leading for both teams. And of course, the big man I was talking about, Edey, he can punish you in the paint. And Stefanovic is a fantastic three-point shooter because he is scoring 40% beyond the arc. That is very impressive. But UNT, look, I know they had a 17-point lead, but they did give it up. Do you think their defense will show up against Purdue?
Yes, easily. This defense, again, we always like to talk about, this is a great young team, the freshmen and all that, but we also have to remember that, we always have to remember that Duke team. They had a great three-man combo, and they were all freshmen still. Freshmen are not always the best to build your team around. They're not really college players, They're more looking to go to the league. So I think UNT's team has great experience. I also think they have a great defense. And I think, honestly, Purdue isn't even the best offense they faced off against, in my opinion. That's a really hot take of mine. I think Western Kentucky's was way better. And that team was very hard to guard in general. And you can see the second half, they picked it up because they picked up steam. And UNT was like, oh, my God, what's going on?
Okay, so real quickly, what's your prediction for this game? Who wins and why?
I think UNT wins based on the great defense, a great front court. I honestly think our center is going to play such a big part in this game. I also just think that if we really focus on Trevon Williams, this team can easily win and go to the Sweet 16. I also hate Villanova. That's probably why.
All right, Rachel, what about you? Who's going to win and why?
I'm going to be a bit more of a realist. I think it really depends on if we see the Hamlet that was there in the championship. If we do, I think Hamlet can lead the Green to a possible victory. I'm still worried about Travion Williams. I'm more on the fence. I'm going to say Purdue wins, but it's only going to be because something else happens in the end.
All right, well, we'll see what happens. I personally am going for UNT, but thank you guys. So the basketball world is enjoying the madness, but the NFL is making headlines with free agency. Coming up, we test out the stock market. Don't go anywhere. Well, we are still waiting for the start of the NFL season, but free agency is reminding us just how chaotic football can be. But let us see if certain teams' stock are on the rise or tanking. Joining me now is Kevin Pacheco and Jesus Gerardo. How are you guys?
We're doing all right. Could be doing better.
How have you felt so far about free agency?
I'll let you take. Well, after seeing how the Cowboys have done, they haven't really made any moves, so that's why I'm not too happy right now. I mean, they didn't need to make big splashes, but at least something would have helped.
All right, so let's start with that. So basically how this is going to go is I'm going to say a team, and then you guys can say their stock is up or down in terms of free agency, and you can say why. So, Kevin, I'm going to start with you. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Is the Cowboys stock up or down during free agency right now?
I want to say the Cowboys are like neutral. They signed Dak Prescott, which is their big signing. That's what they really needed to do, make sure he doesn't go away. But they didn't get a D tackle or a linebacker, which I think would have really helped that defense. The New England Patriots traded for Devon Godshaw they signed Devon Godshaw and Kyle Van Noy, which could have really helped the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, those were like $16 million, $13 million contracts.
All right, Jesus, what about you?
Going with the Cowboys, I think that they did have some talent out there in the market available for them. Unfortunately, they weren't able to capitalize on them, especially on the defensive side. You know, you got they need improvements in both the cornerback section and the safety. You know, DB linebackers, like you said, Kyle Van Noy, he was a good viable option for them early out. You have people like Richard Sherman. You have Desmond King, who just recently signed with the Texans. You had quite a bit of options that Cowboys were unfortunately unable to capitalize in, and it kind of like sucks being a Cowboy fan, as you say.
But,
right now.
you know, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say the stock is up for Dallas. Look, first of all, you re-signed Dak Prescott. That is an automatic up, in my opinion, because for the longest time since he was drafted in 2016, it was always, will they, won't they? But finally they did, and he signed, so we don't have to worry about that for the next 4 years. Awuzie is gone, which is unfortunate. He is very athletic, but I just felt he just wasn't that piece Dallas needed. Dalton is gone. That is a good backup, but I mean, I kind of expected him to go after he did a decent job as backup. But they did re-sign Jordan Lewis. I know they're kind of, you know, not a lot of depth in the corner, so I think they're going to go into the draft trying to pick up defensive possession. So that's good for Dallas. Now let's move on. Let's talk about the Patriots, a team that just refuses to go away. Kevin, what is their stock? Is it up or down?
I'm going to say down. Any team that spends a lot of money in free agency doesn't guarantee wins. I mean, you look at the Philadelphia Eagles dream team they had a couple years ago. They did have some good signings. I like I said, Kyle Van Noy and Devon Godshaw. But with that quarterback, Cam Newton quarterback, is really key to winning games in the NFL. I don't know if that's going to be enough for them.
Okay, and Jesus, what about you?
Well, I think the New England's free agency, their stock has gone up through free agency just looking at the offensive weapons that they were able to bring in for Cam Newton, you know, he did have a very, you know, up and down season last year. So him being able to sit down with Bill Belichick, get that good mind of Belichick's going, be able to adapt into Cam Newton's more of his type of game, and you have these new both tight ends. You know, you got Jonnu Smith coming at free agency. You also got Hunter Henry coming in free agency, and you got Nelson Aguilar. Those are 3 viable options for him that he could be looking out more, especially in the red zone where he was struggling a lot last year. You know, trying to like rely a lot on his legs. I think having these 3 new guys coming in will really allow him to capitalize in the red zone and probably score some more points.
Yeah, and look, we talked about it. What do they call Bill Belichick? Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars. He just refuses to go away. And one thing I love about what they've done for free agency, and I think this is why their stock is up, they're getting positions that were missing last season. Look, I know Cam had his ups and downs, but I still think he's your best option right now, unless there's really nothing you can get in the draft right now. Every position that they filled during free agency was something that was a problem. So I think it's a good job there. So now let's do our final team. Let's talk about the Washington football team. Kevin, I'm going to start with you. What do you think? Is their stock up or down?
I think the Washington football team is a really fun one because they signed Curtis Samuel from the Carolina Panthers, which could be another explosive option next to Terry McLaurin. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, I mean, with that defense, I feel like it's really going to help. He's one of those guys, kind of like a Jameis Winston, that he can make big plays, but he can also throw interceptions. But that defense is going to be there to protect them. And so I feel like their stock is up.
And yeah, you know, we are running out of time. So Jesus, real quick, stock up or down for Washington?
I would say that their stock went up. You know, they
All right.
added.
Well, we do have to wrap it up. I'm sorry. That's why I said quickly. But it is Thursday. And by the way, Washington football team fits tragic. Come on. But I decided to switch things up for our final segment right now. So we are actually going to rank the top 5 jerseys in college football. That's next on Mean Green Screen. We usually have Trivia Thursday in our final segment, but I decided to switch things up. Here to join me is Jacob Bernardini and a returning AJ Tellers, man. You're just so happy you had to come back a second time, didn't you?
Yeah, it's been a while.
So this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a ranking segment. So all of us did a top 5 best college football jerseys. So I'll start it off. For me, number 5, I did Texas Longhorns burnt orange. Iconic. I love it. And also Matthew McConaughey, you look beautiful in orange suit. All right. AJ, what about you? What's your 5?
Let's go with the Hurricanes Black Miami Knights.
Okay.
No other team really makes green and orange work as a color scheme, but you add that black to it, it just pops.
Very nice. Jacob, what's your 5?
I went with the North Dakota State Bison. Green and green is the main color. Yellow, either or is fine. They're both really good. I just like the combination of the 2 colors. It looks very clean. Best FCS team by far as well.
A very nice selection. So now let's go to number 4. So my number 4 is LSU. I mean, yellow and purple, it's just so good. I really like the majority purple jerseys. I just think it's really cool. A really simple color scheme, but man, it's super iconic. AJ, what about you? What's your 4th?
Give me the Cornhusker red. It's iconic, it's clean. You're gonna see a theme with mine. It's one of those uniforms, it's just clean, not a lot of flash, it just works.
I know a certain Cornhusker fan at home that is going to love that. And Jacob, what about you? What's your 4th?
I went with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Classic jersey, of course, it doesn't change, and that's for a reason because it's an amazing jersey. Rudy Rudiger, of course, you gotta love it.
Yeah, I agree. Great selection there. But for me, number 3, I'm gonna select the Ohio State Buckeyes. I really like the stickers that they do. If you contributed to the team, you put that on your helmet. I mean, it's just such a great looking jersey, great organization to be a part of. AJ, what about you? What's your 3rd?
You're going to love this one. Give me the Joe Green throwbacks. Look, not many schools can make green work the way we do here in North Texas. It just pops, it's clean, and again, it's that classic look.
Yeah, there's a reason why we are called the Mean Green. Jacob, what about you? What is your 3rd?
I went with the Louisville Cardinals. It reminds me of a school that I covered back in Frisco ISD. I like the black and the red combination. It's just very clean, and of course, it works with the helmet as well. I think that's really nice.
Oh, very nice. All right, so now here we go, top 2, guys. All right, so AJ, I'm gonna start with you. What is your number 2?
I got to go South Carolina's blacks. I think if you look at all their uniform combos, South Carolina might be number 1 for me, but their black and red, man, it just pops.
All right, Jacob, what about you?
I went with the Navy Midshipman 175th anniversary jerseys. It's got the nice little ships on the side. You know, it's very clean. I like the combination with the helmet as well. I mean, the Army and the Navy uniforms are always really good.
All right, and my number 2 is the Oregon Ducks. I mean, they're basically known for their uniforms at this point with their 900 different combinations. I just really like it. I mean, if I ever was a college football player, I'd probably select Oregon because I would probably look good in all of those uniforms. All right, here we go, guys. Our number 1 selection. Jacob, I'm going to start with you. What is your number 1 college football jersey?
This is surprising. This is not a big program. With the University of Central Florida Knights space jerseys. These are awesome. They got the stars in it. I love space, first off. And I love like the stars. I like the helmet, the blue. It's awesome. It's just a great jersey, and honestly, one of the best alternative jerseys ever.
All right, AJ, what about you? What is your number 1?
Texas burnt orange. If you picked up my theme, it's classic. Like, how many schools can say they've basically trademarked a color? I mean, there's not many more colors more significant than the burnt orange of the Longhorns.
You are absolutely right. Great. But for me, my number 1, maybe a little biased, but I don't care. It is UNT. I love our black jerseys. The majority black with the green color scheme. I think it is awesome. I love seeing the players wear that. It's super incredible. Man, I'm so excited. I just want UNT football back. All right, but thank you guys so much. So that's going to be it for us. If you like our content, be sure to follow us on North Texas Television on all social media platforms. Thank you to everyone involved. This show would not be possible without you. I appreciate each and every single one of you. I got to get out of here because I got to finish the Snyder Cut. All right, so take care, guys. This has been Mean Green Scream.